Welcome to Wealth Coherence. I'm your host, Emily Bouchard, a social worker specializing in human development and fascinated by human potential. For over 20 years, I've been a coach to families with successful businesses and leaders with successful careers, and you may be surprised to learn that true wealth is about coherence. When our inner state of being aligns with how we live, give, lead, and love. In this series, we will explore an integrated model to flourish coherently, because wealth isn't what we have, it's who we are when we are fully aligned. Welcome to this special edition of Wealth Coherence. I'm the host, Emily Bouchard, and I have been focused on this intersection of wealth and well-being in people's lives for over 20 years. And I'm here today to speak with Ash Moraca about the House of Consciousness that she is the founder of and that I'm helping to co-curate at this year's World Economic Forum timeframe in Davos, Switzerland. We're actually at the top of a mountain, which is really fun, overlooking the whole valley where the World Economic Forum Congress is meeting. And on the 23rd of January, we are going to be convening a day focused on human consciousness and the evolution of human consciousness as we consider the rapid evolution of technology in our lives. So Ash, welcome. Please share what inspired you to create the House of Consciousness and what can be expected from that day.
Well, my own journey, I feel, really has been centered around the evolution of my own consciousness through periods in my life of really deep depression, of suicidal ideation. And I've kind of thrown myself into the world of consciousness as a way of coping and ultimately seeing the world differently. And through that process, I've developed such a deep connection to self, a deep connection to, I feel like, the divinity that lives inside of me, the consciousness that lives inside of me. And being exposed to places like Davos in the past, being exposed to individuals who are shaping our world, who have a lot of power, and realizing that more can be done from the perspective of helping other leaders wake up to their own divinity within themselves. Because I really believe that when each of us wakes up to that, we want to create change in the world. We want to create a ripple effect in the world, and to be able to have those conversations at the highest level at a place like Davos this coming year, to me, is just an incredible opportunity to make real change.
I love what you're saying, and it's something that really inspired me to want to be a part of it. And when you invited me to, it was such a huge yes, because that's what I really look at in terms of wealth coherence, right? Like, what is it that has us have that sense of well-being with our emotional selves, our physical selves, our intellect, the humanness of us, along with the financial life that we have and the wherewithal that we have to move the world in different ways, right? To be hyper agents. And it's a powerful thing that you take in such a painful journey and really use it for your own growth, and then to bring it to inspire leaders in terms of theirs. And you made me think of the recent book by Greg Braden called Pure Human. And he really speaks about that sense of divinity that we can touch into, that makes it so that we really are connected to something so much bigger than ourselves, but we're also part of. And I love his definition of it when he said divinity, how he describes it, is the ability to transcend perceived limitations. And this idea of perceived is so important, right? Because it has so much to do with our worldview and how we interpret the world and the meaning we make about it. And what if it's so wrong? Like, what if there's so much more? And those interpretations and perceptions can lead down different paths if we're not careful. And so it's so important to be consciously aware of what it is we are perceiving and where it's taking us. And what have you found to be like the most useful in terms of the role of leaders in this world in terms of their consciousness?
Well, I think, you bring up such a good point in that the world that we live in is really based on conditioning and power and control. And our consciousness, like my view around that, is that we haven't necessarily allowed like the consciousness of the world to feel that full expression, because our world is still centered around capitalism, and that's what kind of keeps the world going. And so is there a path forward in which we reimagine a completely new way of being, a new way of operating in the world, where each person is sovereign, where we reimagine financial systems that are regenerative, that give back to the world? And when I think about if the key leaders of our world were thinking in this way, and they obviously have the influence to make that change. And so to me, being able to go to those leaders to run something like the House of Consciousness alongside WEF, overlook on the Pisha Summit, overlooking the town of Davos, ultimately to create change, and to have these conversations in a place where human consciousness has not necessarily been thought of. When you look at our world, and you alluded to this in the beginning, like our outer infrastructure, AI, the financial systems are growing at such a rapid rate, and our inner world is not being looked at in the same way. And so how can we balance these two? How can we come into greater coherence with ourselves, with each other, with the earth, to ultimately build a world that we all want to live in?
I love what you're saying too, with this perspective of micro and macro, right? So if we look at our internal operating system and really understand it and really understand the mechanisms of it, and our relating with reality and how our consciousness creates reality to a certain degree, and then we have this cultural reality that's been created by everyone and agreed to. It's all an agreement. And so when we go in that direction, then what does that look like in terms of the macro and how the decisions are made? And could it, if there's enough of a new thinking about how the world works, then there might be a new economy that could happen, or there could be a new system for more of an equalization or egalitarian approach. And it's so fascinating because it seems like the human evolution keeps going through cycles like this, right? And it's such an important time, and it's going to be an amazing experience to be up on the top of that mountain and really dive into these conversations together. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really feel like this is just a starting point. Like the first year, we're planting seeds. We are setting the stage for what this could look like on a much bigger scale and much bigger impact. And so, yeah, just excited for the voices in the room that are wanting to shape what this looks like and bring it forward and create those ripple effects.
Yeah, and it's been wonderful to see the response to it, right? With the folks that are running the House of Pioneers also wanting to look at consciousness on multiple levels, and not just like, oh, when's AI going to become conscious, but what's the human consciousness in relationship to what we're creating and the ethics around it, and then wanting to partner with us to do this together. And I think there's so much possibility and potential for what can happen with it. Thank you for listening to this episode of Wealth Coherence. If it resonated, I'd love for you to share it or leave a review. This will help others find their way to this space. And if you're ready to keep exploring what it means to live, lead, and give from a place of coherence, head to emilybouchard.com to stay connected. Until next time, be well internally and allow your external life to be the fullest expression of who you truly are.